Welcome to the program. Now, there have been protests in some parts of the country over the high cost of living as Nigerians accuse political leaders of showing no concern towards the plight of the masses. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has set up a special task force in all its zonal commands to tackle the menace of the dollarization of the economy. The free fall of the Nigerian naira at the foreign exchange market, coupled with the cost of petrol, had triggered galloping inflation, which has raised the cost of living to an unbearable level. Now, the anti-graft agency says it has also invited proprietors of private universities and other institutions of higher learning in Nigeria that are charging fees in dollars. Meanwhile, the former national vice chairman of the governing All Progressives Congress, Saliu Lukman, has asked President Tinubu not to ignore the mass protests over the high cost of living, saying that if he does so, it will be at his own peril. Lukman warned that if the issues are not addressed, mass protests will engulf the entire country in no distant time, while hitting hard at the governing party for ascribing the protests to opposition politicians, saying that that may not be the true situation. Well, for more on this, I'm now being joined in the studio by Senator Enang, former senior special assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator Enang. Talk to us about some of these issues that have happened in the last 1 week. They've seen economic turmoil, and then, of course, the economic manager has been summoned to the National Assembly to give account, and President Tinubu is also back to town, and Nigerians are just asking what exactly is going on, and the EFCC seems to also be waking up to the reality that the naira is sinking and people are beginning to charge for services in dollars.
Well, I will go to the charge of services in dollars later, but I want to say that on the question of the mass protest, from what I'm seeing and what I know, the government is very responsive, very active in responding to the issues. And the government, in averting this situation earlier, had decided to give attention to food security by somehow
by declaring a state of emergency.
It's declared a state of emergency on food, and then created the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. That was giving attention to it. And to my knowledge, my brother, and friend, Senator Kyari, and the Minister of State are working very hard. Incidentally, I am close to them. I'm close.
Yeah, I mean, they're your former colleagues.
Yes, senators, and of course, I worked on emergency agricultural program on the Niger Delta and economy diversification. So I have made all the inputs and the things that we're doing available to them, even the farms and so on, and all the things we're doing. I've also made it available to the Honorable Minister of Water Resources. I visited him, gave him the plan, and I think he's following up on the plan. Just today, we've just finished a meeting we're rushing to watch the ball, about 5:30 this evening, with the Ministry of Marine Economy, Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, on the fish value chain, the things that we're going to do, the federal government is doing about the activating and making sure that fishermen, those who rear fish, the aquaculture, and the funding for fish and the entire fish value chain is activated. And that meeting had been fixed last week for today. And in fact, there we even raised the question that we're not going to take lightly the question of this protest, because we said, look, this is how the Arab Spring started. But then the Arab Spring started because the government of those countries weren't responsive enough. They took it for granted, and they rather attack the people. But what this government has done is to respond to the food situation. And I heard somebody said they are going to even import food. That is the worst that can happen to the naira, and that is the worst that can happen to the to food security. Because the time it will take you to order the food, pay for it, do all the processing to arrive, will be about 2-3 months. Now it takes 3 months. The rice, the rice that we're producing in the Niger Delta, the one what they produced along the banks of the Cross River, Cross River State on this side, Akwa Ibom State on this side, from Vandekia, Ikom, Ogoja, Ikom, down to the Atlantic. The rice that will be produced, including the Bansara rice, takes 3 months. it takes 80 days, that is approximately 3 months, to plant and harvest. So what the government can do now, it has given attention to the fish chain, it has given attention to the other grains, to give attention to rice. It will just take 80 days. Just do 80 days. That is what I did as advisor on Niger Delta and economy diversification, which we worked on. And the farms are still there. We got farms from the River Basin authorities. The Honorable Minister then handed over the farm to my office, and I have made this data available to the Minister of Agriculture in person, and we've been in constant touch over it. So I want Nigerians to please relax, and that the federal government is doing something about it. And of course, the responsiveness of the economic team, the agri team, and the food security team. It would have been different if they were not doing anything or saying, look, who is that? No, the Tinubu administration is not saying that.
Well, if the Tinubu administration is not saying that, the party is actually accusing opposition leaders of stoking these protests. And I'd like to remind you, Senator Enang, that the Arab Spring actually started because someone couldn't buy bread. And of course, it became problematic all the way from Algeria, and it spread all through.
Yeah,
there are people who can't buy a loaf of bread in Nigeria at the moment because it's 1,000 to 1,005, 2,000. I mean, I even saw one that was imported into Nigeria selling for 10,000 naira for a loaf of bread. Talk to us about how the government can actually put some temporary measures in place to quell these rising food prices.
It is just emergency production. It is emergency production. You see, I was in office during the COVID-19, and it was this COVID-19 that brought the emergency program, which my office handled, the Ministry of Niger Delta handled, the Ministry of Agriculture handled, and then it was coordinated by the Office of the Chief of Staff. And at a point, and again, fortunately, the present Minister of National Planning, was the governor of KB State.
Yeah,
and he was, I think, the vice chairman of that agri program. So I want the federal government to please revisit that program when it was, bringing these men who were involved, because we did it, and there was this facility called the COVID-19 intervention, which NISAL gave. Refundable. Right now, they gave it no security. The only security was your biometric, and now they're beginning to recover it. And when you recover, you recover it.
A mesh scandal too.
Yes.
I mean,
No. It wasn't. It's not this money. It is not this one that were enmeshed in the scandal. This was about, some were given 500,000, some 750,000, some, the highest that was given was 1.5 million.
To farmers directly?
Yes, to farmers directly. And I coordinated, so there were some of those lists I coordinated. What I did was I created a team in each of the states, and they submitted list, the prepared list. It was submitted online to NISAL, and they used the platform, to disperse loans directly to the account of those persons. They weren't given cash. If you were doing poultry, they give you 1 million. If you are doing potatoes, and of course, by the way, potatoes takes only 80 to 85 days to mature. That is the new
Similar
one that
to the rice you're talking
about.
Okay.
That is this one that biotechnology is that they're producing a new species, a new variety. I have it in my compound in Abuja. It takes 80 days to mature. So government should just go into this, and we shouldn't wait for too many memo, and we shouldn't rely on most procedures. It is an emergency. Mr. President should set up just task team. The lands are there, the farmers are there, but just activate them. They will. Yeah. You don't need to this thing. Take it as an emergency. Even these people who are doing protests, engage them. Give them something to do. Give them bread. Give them money to buy to plant wheat and other things. They will leave the field, go and plant. feed them to wait.
Yeah, but I wanted you to actually react to that statement by the APC, the governing party, which you remember, that the opposition politicians are actually sponsoring this protest. Though one of your party members, Salih Lukman, actually cautioned that that statement couldn't have been true because Niger State, for example, is an APC domain. APC won clearly in that state. And then, of course, the APC national chairman is from Kano State. So how could the opposition have been organizing all these protests and your leaders wouldn't know?
I plead my privilege. Thank you very much. Let me go to the next question, which you talked about the dollar that people are beginning.
Yeah, of course. Well, I understand.
What was the lead of your question?
Yeah, I mean, it also has to do with the issues of dollarization. But of course, you're a member of the All Progressives Congress. I really wanted you to actually answer that question because, I mean, that issue is going around. But since you don't want to, let's move on to the issues that the government seems to be tackling through the EFCC now. There are several institutions in Nigeria are beginning to charge for services in dollars rather than in naira. And of course, the EFCC says that's affecting, the exchange rate and the demand for forex.
You are wrong. You are wrong.
How do you mean? Well, this is a statement by the EFCC.
This has been going on for a very long time. In 2012, I went to Lagos and I went to one of the hotels, 4-star or so hotel, near NTA headquarters, and they asked me to pay. No, don't want. Please, in Victoria Island. Please don't mention the.
No, of course hotel. I know, but
now they asked me to pay in dollars. In 2012, I protested that this is Nigeria. I can't pay in dollars. I brought down my dollar. They showed me where the malam is, where they're selling black market. That I will give them the black. That will only take the naira from me at the exchange rate that the black market is selling for that day. And I came back. Then I came to this Hilton, because we're in Hilton now. And it is happening even now. I love watches. I went to one of the watch shops and discovered that they're also selling watches, pen in dollars in Abuja. If they like, let them say, I will not go out today. Now, and I said, look, why should it be? Now, I went and looked at the act, and the act said the official currency of Nigeria shall be the Nigerian naira. And I studied the entire situation, and in 2014, people started pricing estates, that is houses and lands in Victoria Island, Ikoyi, Asokoro was popular then in Asokoro, and later in Guzape in dollars. You just see a building, they're at 1.8. I will say this is cheap, but that is $1.8 in Abuja, and so the same in Lagos, and perhaps in some other places. So what were the economy managers doing? What were the
former
central bank doing?
Governor Sanusi then termed that dollarization, and he kicked against it. I know you were in the Senate then. Some of you actually kicked against certain things, moved motions.
No, I didn't move a motion.
Oh, okay.
This is the compilation of my presentations and speeches on the floor. The bills I sponsored on the floor of the Senate in this volume 1. Of the bills I sponsored on the floor of the Senate. I have from 1999 to 2011, the one I did on the floor of the House of Representatives. Now, on 22nd of February 2012, I brought a bill before the floor to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007. And the essence of the amendment was to ensure that, one, no person charges for goods and services in any other currency other than the naira in Nigeria. This is 2012. We are in 2024 now. That's about 12 years ago. Now, so why I'm saying this is, if you go to the my site, and if you go to the...
So the bill actually scaled through and it was passed?
No. Okay. All I'm saying is, I introduced the bill, but the bill was inconclusive. Because the same central bank sponsored opposition against the bill. That is why when I saw the central bank, I wouldn't say, they know.
You would have heard about it.
No.
Why they were kicking against it.
Because
the then central bank governor actually said...
Even when they had to buy one of the buildings, some of the things they did, they denominated in the dollars. Go to 2011, 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I know that there was a training center that they were building in Abuja here that became controversial during that period too.
Yes, which they bought and demolished, And was it bought in Naira? Was it paid for in Naira? Even the same central bank. Now, even today, the central bank pays for most of its services in US dollars. Let me not just talk about the central bank. Now, properties are sold in dollars. Even there are some agencies in this country that pay in US dollars. Some oil companies pay their staff in US dollars. And that is why most of their salaries and retirement are domiciled in US dollars, sometimes outside.
Is it not
Nigeria?
Because the Naira is actually losing so much value?
No, it's
speedily that it's about 1,500 Naira
No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is it had been the practice. Oil companies did not start today. These oil companies pay their staff. I have a list.
Yeah, so what do we do to actually bring this down? Because politicians like you two are also carrying about dollars because Naira has become too bulky for people like you to carry around.
It does appear that the official currency of illegal transactions in Nigeria from government circle is the dollar.
Yeah, of course.
I apologize. I wouldn't apologize. Come and beat me.
Because they say politicians like you prefer to carry it because it's smaller
I am not involved. And what we should do about this is, let's go to the Federation Account Allocation Committee. Let's go to Port Authority. Let's go to Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Let's go to many of the, let's go to Niger Delta Development Commission. Let's go to Northeast Development Commission. They are given some of their allocation or their monies in the US dollars.
Interesting.
Yes.
Why would that be?
Because this is wrong. This is wrong.
Because we have laws that actually kicked against that.
I have kicked against it. I have been an enemy of certain persons. But I said, look, I am like a trustee of the conscience of this country because I have gone through pain, and this country has invested in me and given me a lot of opportunity. And I can't watch you get this country that has given me a lot of opportunity. I can't watch you bring it down, So when the allocation is given, you will see the governors. Governors take, I hope they will come and deny that they don't take
the AFCC is handling several of these issues.
The AFCC should make sure that...
Where Bureau de Change are working for governors and
yes, they are working for governors because the governors receive this allocation in US dollars. There is no reason that the US dollars, although you receive some of your money in dollars, you should exchange and use them in the local currency.
But
dollars should not be an exchange
sorry to just come in here. Some governors have been arguing that the federal government seems to be shortchanging them because the federal government earns in dollars and converts and give it to them in Naira. That what the Federation accounts laws actually say is that the federal government will receive it in dollars and is supposed to share the money to the tiers in dollars.
That was the beginning of sharing in dollars. And that is why at the point they introduced what they call exchange rate differential as an item of the denomination, But somehow they still take the thing in dollars. You'll see that whenever allocation is given to the governors, a federation account, the dollar will lose a little as in the days past too. But these days, the Naira will lose a little because the governors have all sent it to the Bureau de Change. And now it loses so much and so far. Value. So what we should do, my bill said was that we should criminalize this and that nobody should spend anything in the dollars. Even hotels here, when you go, they keep the exchange rate, they keep the dollar. If they take, it is an offense. It should be an offense for hotels and for any service to charge in the US dollars. If you go to Canada or any other country, go to UK, go to any country, they will, if you don't have the currency of their country, you will have to go and change it to the currency of that country. If you go to Canada, for instance, they can't take US dollars from you. They will get you to change and get it to Canadian dollar. So that is what we should do
very
in
quickly,
Nigeria.
in 30 seconds before I let you go, can legislation actually solve this problem? Or these tactics by the EFCC would actually work?
The tactics by the EFCC, it will work. It will work because it is prescribing, it is the official currency of Nigeria is the Nigerian naira. So if you conduct any service and pay for in any other currency, you have committed an offense. What I did was in this bill, which was frustrated, but I fully argued it. I fully argued the provisions of the bill. And you would see the contribution of Senator Ikweramadu, Henekin Lokwobere, the now Minister of Petroleum. Yeah. You will see the contributions of Lokwobere, Ahmed Ningi, a senator now, again a senator, Inaya Baribe, still in the Senate, Yutinde Hussein, and my other colleagues, their contributions to the argument of the bill.
Yeah, so actually a lawmaker needs to bring this bill back,
yes,
and possibly get the support of the CBN to actually pass it.
That's what you are. CBN, now that you don't pay them, because it is them that issue that statement. Yeah. And of course, this statement was feeble. It was feeble. It was just as if it were, well, let me issue as so that they will not say they don't mean it. So let them show that they mean it. Let them prohibit the taking of the payment for any service, even salaries.
Universities actually even demanding
it should not happen. You should charge three universities here in Abuja are charging in US dollars. Okay, they are charging in US dollars. Whatever you want to pay, they charge you this thing. So private universities. So they should go after them. I saw one of them. I think this is a public knowledge. I think it's even being advertised in your station. So if it is advertised in your station, it is not it's not a secret.
All right.
We go university. Yes. It says $15,000. How do you allow that to happen in Nigeria?
Well,
in a country?
These are some of the issues that the regulatory authorities are actually supposed to take charge.
Come in and if you don't issue the dollar to these governors and this, then they cannot spend it. Let the Ministry of Finance, the CBN, EFCC, and other agencies come together, and the Naira will recover.
I'm afraid that's the much we can take. But just before we go, there's a court in Lagos that has ordered the federal government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products within 7 days because of the soaring rate of inflation and all of that. We just hope that the government will add all of this together and we don't have protests all around because it's getting out of hand. We must thank you so much, Senator Enang, former Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, former federal lawmakers, ranking federal lawmaker, both in the House of Reps and then in the Senate, for helping us to understand all these issues.